And welcome back to the Boomin Buckeyes podcast. I'm your host, Cody Croy, joined by Jake Hurricane. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Cody. How you been doing?
Doing well. Got a lot to get into today as the Buckeyes, they released something pretty big. Their new uniforms, black with the stripe, as we know, something that we haven't seen in about 20 years, before I was even born. So that's pretty awesome, and I'm sure for a lot of the older Buckeyes fans that might age you guys just a little bit. Just want to get your thoughts as just seeing these uniforms. What kind of nostalgic feeling does that bring back?
Oh man, it brings back all the nostalgia for me. I've been wanting this to happen for so long, and I did think it was very funny. If our listeners who are on X, that when we dropped the black edition of those, that every school that had a black started posting, we have the best black uniform in college football. I just feel like Ohio State, man, it's a nostalgic university. You got the Buckeye stickers, that scarlet and gray, man, and the new stripe cannot be touched. And I just think that this is something that's I wanted to happen for the last decade, and I'm glad that they finally did it.
And what I love is the fact that, you have the black helmets with the red leaves. That is sick. I
I
love that.
love it. Love it. I know that stripe is just beautiful, man. It's
It's
perfect.
awesome. Yeah, amazing. But what we're really here to talk about, not that we shouldn't talk about those uniforms because they're pretty awesome, but the main thing we want to talk about today, we got to talk about some of the bold takes. It feels like every year we have these fans, the media. There's some bold takes that will inevitably come about. I want to get your first bold take for the 25 for the 26-27 season.
So when it comes to bold takes for this Ohio State team, I'm going to start it off with Devin Sanchez. I think he is going to be the next superstar in the secondary. I truly believe by the end of the season, people across the country are going to know exactly who he is. The physical tools are ridiculous. Like we talked about in a prior episode, just it's very important how confident he plays. When he already carries himself like a guy who he wants to be great. And that matters at cornerback, as we have both talked about before, that being the hardest position to play in all of football. And I do think, it's one of the best possible situations for him to come in. He's going to be developed by elite coaches, which we always have, surrounded by elite talent. And then
Mhm.
the biggest thing for me is he's going to be challenged daily as a young player by, arguably the best wide receiver room in the entire country. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And Devin Sanchez, former five-star recruit, one of the most sought after defensive backs in the country in his recruiting class. And he's a guy, again, like you mentioned, he does have that swagger. He knows he's good. He knows how good he can be. And going up against the best receivers in the country, of course, that's going to be a huge benefit. And a guy that there's a lot of competition in this room with Jermaine Matthews, Dominic Kelly. That's another name that I'm really excited to watch. But with Devin Sanchez, we see the talent, and we saw it in spurts last year. But I think you were able to see some of the potential that he does have, and I'm really excited to watch him this season.
absolutely. And, at Ohio State, sometimes unrealistic expectations are on some of these kids. I mean, you're looking at a true freshman kid, and I mean,
Hmm.
people expected him to be CB1 out the gate, and that's just not. I mean, it would be great if we could have that always. I mean, we have a Jeremiah Smith, but he
Yeah,
was kind
yeah,
of a different kind of beast coming into Ohio State. But, at cornerback, it's really hard to have a true freshman come in and just separate and be the best in the.
very difficult. My first bold take, um, Riley Pettijohn, a guy that I have been very high on since we recruited him. I think that with Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese out of the picture in his true sophomore season, he's going to establish himself as the linebacker that we can all depend on, the best linebacker on the team. Now, obviously, some people might think, oh, well, he was a former five-star recruit. That's not very hot. But with Christian Allegro in the room, um, TJ Alford in the room. I think that some people are kind of sleeping on Pettijohn, but he's a guy that I'm really excited to see, even with Peyton Pierce as well. So I think that he's going to have an amazing season.
Yeah, and I think him and the duo, him and Peyton Pierce, is going to be special. You know, the talent with Riley's never been in question. It's the instincts.
Mhm.
His sideline to sideline speed is something I'm very excited about to see. You know what they can do with him, and you know when you're playing fast and confident at Ohio State, that changes his defense. And yeah, he's just a player that I'm with you on. I think he is going to be our linebacker one, and I do think the duo it's going to be him and Pierce, and I think they're going to be special.
Obviously, James Laurinaitis, I trust his development all the way, 100%. 2 first-round picks in this latest draft. Why can't he do it again, you know?
He will
But,
do it again.
bold take number 2. What do you got?
All right. So my other bold take for this Ohio State team, I am huge on this kid, and I'm going to keep talking about him. I have Legend Bay going for 1,200 all-purpose yards this year.
Ooh,
No,
1,200.
1,200.
Okay.
I know it sounds crazy. You know, I was thinking 1,000, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not. I don't see him at just running back either. You know, I think they're going to move him around everywhere. You're going to see him with screens, jet sweeps, kick returns, and when you're going to line him up and get him space, you know, and
Mhm,
you want him matched up on linebackers. However, they can get him the ball. That's why I went with that 1,200 yards because I think they're
mhm,
going to do whatever it takes and they're going to utilize that speed. And you know what stands out to me the most? It's the electricity that that kid brings to the field. He's a
mhm.
home run ability hitter at any time, and I think that's going to give him those all-purpose yard opportunities very quickly. And a lot of people are going to be focused, you know, on Chris Henry Jr. They're gonna be a lot of tight end sets, but I think they're going to spread him all over the field. They're going to make sure they get the ball in that kid's hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Bay, again, it's can he get on the field as a freshman, first of all, and can he stay healthy? He's had some health problems here early in his Buckeye career, hoping he can get back to practice, and get those reps in that he does need as a true freshman. 1,200, that's lofty. That's that's pretty
Bold.
lofty.
We had to go bold today.
Eh,
I'm going bold.
that's I texted you earlier this week. I said bold. You gave me bold, and I
I'm going
love that.
bold.
I gotta say that's hard for me. I can't fully be with you there, but I like it. I like the confidence, and I think Legend Bay, he's a guy that could be really, really good. He's very, very talented. Again, the versatility. Ryan Day has mentioned it. Curtis Samuel vibes. That's what we love to hear. So really excited to see what he can do. One of the many members of this freshman class that's really exciting. But for my second bull take, I have another guy in this freshman class that I'm really excited to see. I think Brock Boyd, with all this talk about Chris Henry Jr., with Quay Guilford, I think Brock Boyd is going to separate himself as the best freshman wide receiver on this team.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question, just because I think I'm remembering this correctly. He was only like a 3-star recruit, right?
So, whenever he first committed, he was pretty highly touted. And then, you know how these recruiting services, they changed their
Yeah, change up.
rankings
Yeah.
all the time. And I think he did finish on the day. By the time he was signed with Ohio State, I believe he was a 3-star recruit. And again, that is ridiculous. Set multiple records at South Lake Carroll out of Texas, same high school as Quinn Ewers, if you want some Buckeye trivia there.
From what we've seen, the staff absolutely loves him off rip, and that usually tells you everything you need to know. Like Ohio State's not really one to camouflage how they're feeling about a certain player, you know.
Right.
So they have to
But
earn it as a freshman. I think he has a great chance to do that.
yeah, a guy that, um, he doesn't have off the charts size or speed, but um, he's got the grit, and he's a guy that, again, he has the athleticism to propel him into conversations to be that guy at Ohio State. And that's not a knock on guys like Chris Henry Jr. or Quay Guilford. I just think Brock Boyd, he's a special, special talent.
Yeah, like you said, he's not going to jump off the screen at you, but he's a great route runner. You know, that's always a plus. And the hands, from
Yeah.
everything I've seen, all the tape I've watched on him, I mean, that dude has sure hands. And one way to play at Ohio State is to be that consistent guy that we need in that offense.
Bold take. Is this number three?
Yeah, this is number 3.
Bold take number three. Let's hear it.
All right, so I'm going to get pretty in depth with this one. I'm going to focus on the safety room in general. Obviously, in my opinion, we lost the best player in all of college football, Caleb Downs. And I understand I've heard some concerns about this safety room because you can't lose Caleb Downs and just rebound like nothing ever happened, right?
Very difficult. Very, very
For
difficult.
for me, I'm actually not panicking at all about it because
Hmm.
I think we're going to have a great room. I'm really excited about Jalen McClain and Earl Little Jr. I think this room honestly can be the best in the entire country.
Ooh,
I think they can be the best in the
okay,
country.
okay.
Extremely high on McLean, athletic kid, extremely physical, got time last
Hmm.
season. He has the kind of traits you really want for an Ohio State defense, especially with the role that he's going to be in. And then a lot of people weren't high on Earl Little Jr., which to me is crazy. I don't watch Florida State religiously, but he was a guy I always had my eye on. I think he has great potential to be, not only is he a good player in college football, but I think he can, be utilized very well at the next level. So, obviously losing Caleb Down hurts, and nobody has denied that. But Ohio State, it's not like they're just scratching and starting all over here for me. I think we have real talent in this room. And I think
Hmm.
by, the start of this season, give it till about week 5, and we're going to be just fine as safety this year.
I like this take, and I think when you look at the overall talent, I mean, Blaine Bradford, he's a true freshman, but he's another name that, again, incredibly talented. Like you mentioned, we added a couple of transfers. Really excited to see what those guys can do. And like you mentioned, it is impossible to replace Caleb Downs. You can't do it. But if you're looking at the talent across the board, overall, you could have a better safety room. I could absolutely see that. Best in college football. That's We'll see. We'll see. You're definitely gonna have some stout competition there, but I mean I don't see why not. I think the sky is the limit for this defense, especially with Matt Patricia, and I think for Ohio State again, Matt Guerrieri, he's been very impressive with guys like Lathan Ransom, of course Caleb Downs. So yeah, I don't see why not. Really excited to see what this room can do next season.
Yeah, yeah, and the reason I say that too is because I just off of last year, I really believe Matt Patricia puts his player. He understands everybody's value and their best traits, and I think he will find something that will work for absolutely anybody. So I think he's just a guy that's going to elevate the talent that he's getting with a player, and that's one of those reasons. I'm not saying they will be, but I won't be
Mhm.
shocked if they are end up being the best tandem in college football.
Since we're doing bold takes, put your flag in the ground.
McLean, oh, let me think. Yes, I'm going to say it. McLean, Earl Little Jr. by the end of the year will be the best tandem in the secondary, safety specifically, in all of college.
I like it. I love it. My final bold take for this season. We look at the schedule, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. Multiple teams that pop out. Um, but that being said, we're the best team in the country. We're the best program in the nation. I think USC, Texas, Oregon, Indiana, and even Michigan for that matter, we're going to beat all of these teams by 15 plus. 15 plus points, every single one of those teams. That is my final bold take.
You're saying I'm talking bold. that, you,
Oh,
you
I
know,
know. I know.
I
I
mean,
know.
listen. I can't say as I'm sitting here right now, I see it exactly that way. I mean, any given Saturday, they even under Ryan Day, we've had some times where we come out just looking a little slow. But I will say,
I know.
in those games though, I don't see that happening. We got that
Mhm.
little that feel for Texas last year. We played it a little bit slower, and I don't think we should have. I think we were honestly a lot better. And I think Texas underperformed a little bit last year. I do think they're a
Yeah,
good team,
absolutely.
but I think they're massively overrated. I really do. I mean, Oregon's tough. Indiana is going to take a little bit of a step down. Do I think Indiana's
Mhm.
going to fall off and be irrelevant? No. And USC, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm worried they're just going to shake the world up out of nowhere. I do like my Iva. I think he's a good quarterback. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's very possible that does happen, and that would be fantastic if it did. I would stamp that one as well. It's a fantastic take. It's bold. It definitely is bold, but with Ohio State, man, I mean, I could argue, we're the most talented team in the country coming back this year.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely. And I get it. It's bold. You look at Texas, that's a team that, again, you're going to rely heavily on the quarterback. Can he take that step forward? Can he live up to that 5-star status that he had coming out of high school? And I think with Oregon, can Dante Moore, coming back for another season, can he elevate his play uh, better than what we saw in that playoff game? Because he was abysmal.
he
Um,
was, and that's been my thing with Dante Moore. Like, don't get me wrong, the kid's got a lot of traits that I like. I mean, the same goes for like somebody like Arch Manning. I think I have a lot more hope in Julian Sayin taking that next step right now than I
mhm,
do either Dante Moore or Arch Manning. And Arch, I will say he's a tremendous athlete. That's his number one ability to me. He has a lot of mechanical issues, I think, throwing the football. It just, I feel like they haven't
yeah.
done as much as what we've seen a Julian Sayin stepping into last season.
I think, again, at the end of the day, there's no team in the country that I think we can't just go out and dominate. And with Indiana, because I forgot to mention them again, their recipe to success had a lot to do with age. They had one of the oldest rosters in college football. A lot of those guys are now ineligible and not able to come back. So I think there's not a team on this schedule that I'm really thinking, oh man, we have to go play those guys. I really truly believe that Ohio State could go out and win, and not only win but dominate each of these games.
And I thought about talking about an undefeated take, coming in, and it's because of what you just said. I feel like a lot of these teams are basing things off of, just like we seen in the remember Paul Feinbaum. There is a 0% chance Ohio State's beating Texas. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
come
yeah.
on, man. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the media does this every single year with anybody playing
SEC,
Ohio State.
ESPN.
SEC, ESPN, you got it. And no, I'm with you. Like, I mean, just back to Indiana, I mean, they lost a lot, man. And like I said, I don't think they're just going to fall off a cliff. But do I think they're a national championship contender this year? I think they're going to be more. I think they could get in, but I think it's going to be more of that first year of Signetti, where you kind of like, oh my god, this guy's a really good coach, but then they make the playoffs and they're going to get beat up.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I think our biggest test is going to be Oregon and Indiana, and I like the fact that we're at the shoe for
Hmm.
Oregon. Obviously, I think we will win that game in the shoe. And I think Texas, honestly, on paper right now is going to be the toughest test for us because we're traveling to Austin, and then we all see it's a
Right.
7:30 game.
I think with Ohio State, I think you alluded to it earlier. The biggest thing is just coming out and playing fast, not playing that slow pace earlier in the year, like we talked about in a previous episode. You got to go. I mean, you got to up the tempo. It's a new offense, new offensive coordinator. You got to up the tempo, and I think if you do that, you will see success, and no matter who you play.
Yeah, and going off what you just said, speeding that tempo as we talked about last week, Ryan Day has came out. I think it's a big thing that he did. Not a lot of people you know, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about how he actually came out and made those comments about Julian Sayin utilizing his legs. And I just want to throw emphasis on Julian Sayin is such a better athlete than people actually give him credit for. And I think unlocking his legs in this offense will undoubtedly make this offense run not only smoother, but a lot quicker, even with Arthur Smith coming in as the new coordinator.
Any final thoughts? Any final bold takes that you want to drop before we end this episode?
Okay, so to end this episode, 2060 is the all-time receiving yards record for a single season in college football. We're talking about an all-time record that's standing for, well over a decade, probably 2 decades by now. I'm getting old myself. But I think Jeremiah Smith, 2,100 yards this season, receiving sets the record. And I'm saying 15 plus touchdowns.
Okay.
We're going to look
Okay.
at and it's going to be a punch in the face to every single LSU fan that's been running their mouth, talking down on the best wide receiver I've ever seen play this game at this level. 2,100 yards and 15 plus touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith does it this year.
That's very bold, but we talk about Jeremiah Smith, a guy that, again, he is generational. A generational prospect, generational size, combined with just his ability to play the game. And I think, that's lofty. It's very lofty. But again, if there's any receiver in college football that could break any record, it's going to be Jeremiah Smith, a guy that again he is a generational talent. A lot of comparisons have been drawn to Julio Jones, and I think that is accurate.
And I loved Julio in college. I watched a lot of Julio in college. Really wanted the Browns to stay at 6 and draft him instead of doing what we did and see how bad that turned out.
Yeah,
But watching Jeremiah Smith, I think Jeremiah Smith is a better player. I truly do. I think he's just a better all around player than Julio ever was coming into the draft. So it's going to be more, can we get the ball to him that many times? But
right. Yeah, there's a lot of talent to go around at Ohio State. Um, you know, but again, the focal point is going to be Jeremiah Smith. Don't get it twisted. It will be Jeremiah Smith. He is the number one target, the number one um, player that teams scout and focus their defensive game plan around, which makes it challenging for him. But again, he hasn't had a problem with production, and he's a guy that again could absolutely do that.
absolutely. I just figured, throw something else bold at the crowd here, something crazy, get people talking, hey, it's doable. It's not, it might be bold, but it's not, that it can't be done. So,
Hey, you one up to me. What the heck, man? Want to thank all of you for tuning in to the Boomin Buckeyes podcast. Like I said, I am your host, Cody Croy. Jake Hurricane, thank you for joining us once again. Go Bucks.
go Bucks.